Guys, you're never going to believe this stuff. Like, you'd think after all of this time I would be better at remembering to turn on the mic. But I didn't, so I'm voicing over the whole thing. Here's a joke about Boris. He's licking all over my shirt and leaving a mess. Bling, bada bling, bada bling, bada bling, bada bling. All right, now I will do the entire rest of this video with dog slobber all over my shirt, so really enjoy that. I will also be doing a terrible job at doing close-ups, so I'm going to go back in and give you guys some pictures of the stuff I'm showing you, but laugh about it every time I do it. This is the Mutant Genesis series, came out in 1995, after they had wrapped up the initial line and done the Phoenix Saga. They had some weird characters that they started making figures of. The first is a Wolverine, as it should always be. Wolverine in this instance is wearing the Fang uniform. Fang was a member of the Imperial Guardsmen. If you remember from our Phoenix Saga episode, we unboxed Warstar and Gladiator, and they were both also members of the Imperial Guard. The comic where he got this, if I'm not mistaken, they were fighting the Brood, and the Brood had like been kicking Wolverine's ass, and he was all torn up and everything. And then he came across Fang, stole his clothes, and looked pretty dope in them. We're gonna go ahead and bust this open, and oh, right. I forgot. I wanted to mention on the back of this card, you've got the Sentinel playset and the Blackbird. We had the Sentinel playset when I was a kid, but I never had the Blackbird, and those are like two grail toys of mine. Like, I can't wait to get my hands on those and box and open them up one day. I'm going to piss off somebody, but that'll be really cool. He comes with the same weapon set that the Wolverine 5, the Spy Wolverine, came with. But he only has one hand that can hold a weapon, so it's kind of weird that they gave him like 12. He has fixed elbows, so he can't bend them, but because of the feature that he has, it wouldn't really make sense. So you can bring him up and down independently, and you squeeze him. Look at how focused that is. Man, that looks good. What a professional video making guy. But you squeeze his legs, the claw slash, you get the idea. Really cool detail with the little claw fang things that are hanging on his uniform, on his gloves, and on his neck and boots. Really good face sculpt. This is where I bring him in so you can see it. You like that? Great paint job on there. He looks not cross-eyed and terrible. You could tell because it was really focused. But it's a pretty good all-around figure. No complaints, but not really lighting the world on fire. He does come with one weapon that is different than the other ones, and it's like this weird gun thing, gun sword thing, kind of goes together, and it looks neat or whatever, but the tape on it was 30 years old, and it's almost as gross as the dog slobber that's on my shirt, so that's really bumming me out. We kind of get it in there. It's gross. It doesn't matter. Whatever. We're moving on. There it is. Nobody cares. Next up, we are unboxing a dude named the X-Cutioner. X-Cutioner, hey, that was all right. You almost focused there. Was a human, an FBI agent who took it upon himself to kind of go on like a mission of vengeance against criminal mutants. He goes after Mastermind, White Queen, but she's like in a coma when he goes after her. Like, that's kind of crappy. And then he goes after Skin, the member of Generation X, because Skin faked his own death, and then so he thought that he had actually killed himself. The toy itself is kind of cool. It has some hits, it has some misses. X-Cutioner was the same way as a character. He had some hits, he had some misses. He had tons of armor and weapons that came from like all over the X-Men universe. He had Shi'ar tech, teleportation stuff. He also had stealth tech, which allowed him to sneak into the X-Mansion. And if you know anything about them, you know that it's pretty difficult to get in the X-Mansion undetected. When he's got his little cloak thing on, he looks pretty neat, but when you take it off, he just looks like a chud with like a little blue hat, and it's dumb looking. One of those things where cool feature to let him change his costume off, but he's worse without it on. He comes with two little weapons. They both pretty much function the same as little battle staffs. And he's got a little sheath situation on his back, which is always cool. I like when you can take a toy's weapons and repurpose them and play with it in different ways. The function that this toy has is when you put the staff in his hand, and it took me a couple tries here to figure it out. What you have to do is wind it up like a toy car that you like pull backwards, and then you hit it and it spins. I mean, at this point in the X-Men toy line, like you almost just don't give him a feature. Like he would have been cooler without it. The cloak, once it goes on, nice Trey, really well done. The cloak, once it goes on, prevents you from using the sheath things on his back. So that's terrible design and just all around, a very meh figure. We had him as a kid. He's got some nostalgia value and he'll look fine up on the shelf, but I'm not playing with that one again anytime soon. Next, we have Sunfire. Sunfire is a really favorite character of mine, but only from one particular version. In the Age of Apocalypse, they really built up a lot of depth to that character and gave him a lot to do. But prior to that, he had appeared briefly in some of the early X-Men comics. He had joined the team for, I think, like 2 issues when they were fighting Krakoa in Giant Size X-Men #1. But then he quickly stormed off. He shows up in pretty much anytime they're in Japan because as far as the X-Men are concerned, there's only like 6 people in Japan and they all know each other. So he was always around anytime they did anything with anybody else. Hey, that looks pretty good, man. You almost got that zoom in right. The figure itself, really well done. Great articulation, elbows, knees, really cool paint job, nice details with all the little silver accents, and unique. It's not like they just gave him a straightforward belt and like everything has a very high-tech, cool look to it. Interestingly, for a character with fire-based powers, no fire anything, like he's just got like this weird silver armor and a shield, but I am a sucker for chromium stuff. So he looks cool. He's great. All around pretty good figure, above average, really nice. My favorite figure in this set, however, what do you think I'm going on about right now? Who knows? Oh, what I'm telling you is that Senyaka and Maverick, although they are in this set, I already opened them and I don't care. I don't give a toot. Next up, you have what I consider the best figure in this run, Cameron Hodge. Cameron Hodge is a weirdo villain. He was originally like Archangel's like accountant or something like that. Like he was his lawyer, and he always hated mutants and he was like secretive about it. And he was a real dick. When the original X-Men became X-Factor, he like got in with them, but he was always kind of backstabbing them. If you remember in the cartoons, he was part of the Genosha stuff, and he was also part of Phalanx stories. This particular version of the figure is Cameron Hodge taken over by the Phalanx, the alien entity. So he's got like all these cool cybernetic details. His hair has like wires, like little conduits, face sculpt, really neat. All the details on his gun and back are really, really cool. And for whatever reason, they were like, you know what this guy needs is a water gun. So on his back, you put on like this reservoir, and it's got a little, just as simple as it can be, like an old Joker figure or something, and he just shoots water out of him. I have no idea why. What a bizarre thing to put on this character, but he looks great, so I don't have any complaints about it. I also never intend to actually fill that up with water, because if I make a mess, my wife's going to get mad at me. But he's really cool. All in all, average set, but a couple of real standouts. And that's it. So thanks for checking us out. Remember to like and subscribe. I swear next time I'm going to remember to hit the record button with the music and the audio. Y'all have been wonderful. I've been terrible. We'll see you again soon.